3 members of the public wishing to provide public comment today. I would like to call, we have 3 speakers. The first one is Mr. William McNamara. You can step up. I'd like to remind every speaker, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I'm going to speak to item number 11 on the agenda regarding internal audit, and I'm going to recommend to the board that collective bargaining agreements be audited for adherence to ensure there's less conflict, avoidance of costly litigation, and protection of employee rights. As I've said before at a number of occasions, my contract with NYCHA was breached. They failed to enforce and live up to their obligation when I was injured in the line of duty as a housing police officer. Specifically, they denied me the privileges of the unlimited sick leave clause, and they used subterfuge to deny the existence of Mayoral Directive 7814 that would have given me extra protections. I'd like to contrast my treatment with that of other first responder agencies, such as the fire department, the police department. At the fire department, there's currently 7% of the uniformed force of 11,000 on some sick leave status. Some of it's light duty. They'll return to duty when their injury, whether on duty or off duty, is resolved. But there's a number that are on extended sick, which can run into years for line of duty injuries. The protection that they have is based upon Mayoral Directive 7814 and the sick leave clause in their contract. Now, I provided NYCHA with a copy of that contract on quite a few occasions, but I've gotten no response as to what their opinion on it is, since they work with a faulty opinion by the NYPD attorney. Secondly, the NYPD, they, of course, have a light duty status for police officers while they recover from injuries or illnesses of the like. They're also a strict proponent of the mayor's exempt list, which is the genesis of that is Mayoral Directive 7814. So there's dozens of employees injured in the line of duty severely who are maintained on the payroll with full benefits until maximum retirement age of 63 years of age. Now, that's not to say I wanted to stick around for 40 years. Because I had other things to do and other professional ambitions. But the way I was pushed out, unilateral decision, no volition of my own, was grossly callous. In fact, when I say 40 years for some employees, Housing started their campaign to terminate my employment after 40 weeks. And the notice was a letter in the mail that turn in your shield, you're off the books. At which point they arranged for a $19 per month pension for the first year. And when I appealed to them to remedy that, they ignored me. The one thing that galls me probably is that in all the years since my injury, not a single soul from NYCHA has said, "What can we do for you?" after I did so much for them. And this breach of contract is really unconscionable. I'm going to continue my appeals to this group and others to remedy that situation. And I think in the spirit of fairness, it should be. I think there's a cultural phenomenon here, and that is a culture of denial. I mean, we saw it yesterday with a lot of feedback from residents about the conditions of housing not being ideal. And I've heard it before on other issues. So I think, I've presented irrefutable proof of my position. I've rebutted every argument that NYCHA has and their attorneys, yet the culture of denial continues. So I'll continue my quest. I appreciate your time. Chair Latoye, as your tenure at this challenging agency ends, I wish you well. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Ms. McKay. Oh, thank you, Reggie. Yeah.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Nellie McCann. And I'm from Patterson House. First, I came to thank you. The seniors want to thank you, Ms. Littleton, for the ramps, because you was the only one stood up and said we was going to get the ramps, and I came to you 3 times. Everyone else was no money. You see. And I keep going back in 1965 when NYCHA got 3 grants. I don't need my papers to talk about this. $68 million. And we didn't get the ramps. We didn't get the center. We didn't get no new locks. That lock, I've been there 51 years, 52 years, my son. That lock is still on that door. And I mean, you was the only one. You did some good things. And don't, whatever people say about you, what you do, you put God in front and just keep on going. Because these latecomers out here, see, don't know, they just got on this ship. You see, I'm just 80, soon will be 89. I've been there. And I didn't run up and down Auburn with your man, all of them, for nothing. I learned from the good and the bad. So may God bless you and your family. And the next door open might even be better than the one you left.
Thank you.
And I want to speak, I don't have much time, about the tenants. See, when tenants move into buildings and these apartments, they supposed to keep it clean. And some of those apartments I saw on TV, I started scratching myself and I didn't even know what apartment, where they was at. You can't go to the store and get roach spray, paint, and do the job. And the people that was working, going out checking, see was lead poison and everything, they should have did the right thing. See, you can't run to every apartment. If we all work together with the administrator, the tenants, come to meetings and speak out, we would have a better place to live. I love Patterson. And the ramps is looking so good, I can't hardly wait until they finish, so I don't have to walk up and down. And I hope the next administrator would get like a hospital room and mandated that room hold at least about 200 people over there, that the tenants, because they're not going to travel downtown. I don't mind traveling, to come to the meeting and they tell them the do's and the don'ts. When I moved in Patterson, Miss Harrison would even talk to me. I had to take my baby all the way back and get my license because she had to have a husband and he had to have a job. And they took Xerox copy of my license, baby birth certificate and everything. Now you don't have to do that. But you don't need a master's degree to know how to keep clean. See, I'm from the South. We had to scrub the floors with a brick and put Axe grease. I don't know whether y'all know that, but they put it on the tractor, you see. So you don't need a doctor's degree to know how to keep clean. And some of those apartments that Cuomo went in, it was a disgrace. So they need to have a meeting and say, you have to do the do's and the don'ts. You have to do this. You have to follow our rules. Now, the people are mad about the smoking. I'm glad it's about time for them to start to say, you don't smoke in the building and you don't smoke around the building. Because a lot of seniors have asthma and they can't stand the smoke. But I say, and I brought you a going away gift, and may God bless you and keep you in good health and keep on doing the right thing. And the people are saying what you didn't do and didn't do, somebody better check their closet, because my mother always said, might be some dust in there they haven't cleaned out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Thank you.
And now a follow-up to that is our third speaker.
Come on. Come on.
Mr. James Myers, commenting on items number 3 and 4.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. A pleasure to speak to you. I come to speak to you about the new doors that we are getting in Patterson. I'm from Patterson Project, and my building is 325 East 143rd Street. Okay, the doors that they're putting in, I figure they go outside and get some kind of carpenter or someone just to hook it up, because not done correctly. The glass that they put in is supposed to be shock proof, bulletproof, all of this proof, and it's not. When they put it up, the glass was cracked, the door was warped. Okay? We called their attention to it right after they put it up. People couldn't get out because the door check wouldn't let people come out. So they had to come back and take some of the tension off. Meantime, the glass was already cracked. Now we're paying millions of dollars to contractors to fix this. And come to find out that they're not doing it right. They must have got a fly-by-night contractor to put this stuff up. Because if you go around and look at the thing, you can start off at 325 and you see that the dough that they put in that building is not correct. They had a fire in that same building on the stairwell as you're going out in the back. Now that was about, almost 3 months ago. It's still dark and doing. No, they haven't even painted. They haven't done anything to it. Okay, this is what we're looking at. They have to do something. You're spending money for doors in the building, and they're not putting it up correctly. I stood there with the contractors, and I told the contractors, I said, look, that's not right. He said, oh, well, they signed off for it already. Housing signed off for it, so that's their mistake. I said, that doesn't make sense. But yet still, housing got to pay for it. They said they don't have to come back because after you sign off on it, it's your responsibility. Now, this is $1 million contract that you guys awarded some fly-by-night contractors to do this stuff. Okay, and there's another item that I was going to talk about, the parking lot. That NYCHA is, okay, outsiders was paying $150 to park in there. Okay, now they raised it to $1,200 for outsiders. How can outsider go up from $150 to $1,200 overnight? Something is wrong here. So I think that housing should check this, because if they're going to have an outside agency renting the space for the outsider to park in there, it shouldn't be ridiculous price from $150 to $1,200. That's a heck of a jump. You see? But my main concern is about that dose and 325. I would like for anyone you guys to come out and check it, see how the contractors messed up. Not only that, the whole construction area, because I think that it's not done right properly. And whoever, they said that they got someone from housing that's going around checking this thing, then he needs to be justified because he did not follow rules and regulations. If he signed off on the shabby work, then something is wrong.
Thank you.
And
Mr.
okay,
Davis.
and thanks too.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes our public comments portion, and we may proceed with the regular calendar. I'd like to start with a motion to adopt the minutes of our regular meeting held on Wednesday, March 28th, 2018.
Just no more. Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. We'll now proceed with the chair's report.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, board members. A couple of quick updates. In about 3 weeks, it'll be 3 years since we released NYCHA. I know this because my daughter will be 3 in about 3 weeks. Plan came out on the 20th. She came out on the 21st. So, there's a lot of good work that is underway, and I'm excited that General Manager Vito Mastachulo and the incoming chair will build on it, grow it, deepen it. Certainly starting with the financial stability that we've brought to the operational side of the organization, in addition to the continued drive down of our repair times, all of the work that's on the streets, particularly within our Sandy program. More than 27 of the 35 developments have active construction underway, as well as our preservation and development programs, whether that be through RAD or new construction that is happening, both to support the Mayor's Affordable Housing Plan, but also to raise much needed revenue to address the capital needs of our portfolio. We are more than just buildings. We recognize that, and so we're excited to have helped to support more than 8,300 of our residents being connected to real job opportunities. This is really important work that takes many hands, including the work of our team here in our community engagement and programming department. The GM really likes this slide. This is a sort of continuation of some work that was announced earlier, I believe last fall with the mayor, where the city is investing new resources in 10 of our most challenged developments when it comes to rat infestation. And there are all sorts of things, including new infrastructure, internal and external containers, all sorts of other integrated pest management approaches that we are being supported to do. And this is really, I think, building on the work that the team had already started. So, and not to be linked, but at this event, it was announced that we have now moved from an interim or acting general manager to a permanent general manager, Vito Mastachulo. So let's welcome him officially.
Thank you. And thank you for clarifying that there was no direct relationship between the two announcements. Yeah.
But look, this is, in all seriousness, really important work for the health of our residents, but also in the continued focus on safe and clean at our development. So more to come on that. We continue to march with our work in our Next Gen Neighborhoods program. We have begun community engagement at the next set of RAD, or rental assistance demonstration projects. That includes Independence Towers in Williams Plaza in Brooklyn. More than almost 1,100 units will be a part of this new project, and we'll see several hundreds of millions of dollars of new investment in exteriors and interiors in people's homes. I think I mentioned this at the last board meeting, but as part of the federal omnibus, congressional omnibus package, the cap was essentially lifted on the rental assistance demonstration program, and NYCHA has put them on notice that we are coming for more, and so this continues to be an important part of our effort to invest in and preserve our buildings and improve the lives of residents. A little known part of our program has been our home ownership program. Really excited to see this getting some attention. Partnership with the Fund for Public Housing, Restored Homes, Habitat for Humanity, and many other supporters. I believe there were approximately 12 former NYCHA residents who went through a pretty intensive program who now are actually homeowners, and there will be more hopefully in this space as we continue to work to really transition our FHA portfolio to a homeownership platform. And this is one of those residents and her family as they are on the steps of their new home. So this continues to be an incredibly important and vital program for those residents who are interested in this path. Another sort of important resource announcement from HUD is that NYCHA also, as you know, does work with the VASH program. I know this is something that is near and dear to Board Member Gonzalez's heart here. We learned that we will receive approximately $1.2 million in VASH vouchers to continue to support the permanent housing for veterans that will serve approximately 114 veterans. We work very closely with the VA here in New York, and also to support the mayor and the city's goal to effectively end veterans' homelessness. So another really important component that sometimes gets lost in all of the work that we are doing. And so that's it. Thank you so much to this board. There is much work to do, as evidenced by our calendar today. The work continues. And I want to thank the entire board as well as the executive team for their efforts, for their professionalism, for their support. And my wish to you is continued pushing the boundaries and asking the hard questions and not accepting the status quo. Our residents deserve so much better and more. And I will be one of your loudest cheerleaders from outside of the agency. So thank you for this honor and privilege to serve the 1 in 14 New Yorkers who rely on us for home. And I want to thank all of you. So let's get back on to our agenda. Thank you. Sir.
I just wanted to add one thing. A note of recognition. I really would like to thank, regarding the VASH program, Kathleen Pennington and her team. She's helped me get around some of the issues and actually brought me to the director or the person that runs the commissioner here, that's here in New York with regards to the veterans. And I want to thank her very personally. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Very successful in that.
Thank you.
I'd also like to personally thank you for your service. I mean, I think you have one of the arguably hardest jobs in government, and you've approached it with an energy, passion, conviction, vision, advocacy that's really remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I also would like to thank you and take the opportunity to say publicly what an example of concerned, versed, and absolutely flawless manager you are. I know that your heart has always been, and it has been reflected in your actions in this work. So thank you for that work.
Thank you very much. Okay, enough. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 1.
Good morning, Chair, GM, and distinguished members of the board. My name is Trisha Roberts, Vice President of Finance, and I'm here to represent item number 1 and 2. Number 1 is requesting the authorization to award the authority's Environmental Liability Insurance Program policy to Alazance Global Risk, U.S. Insurance Company, a member of Alazance SE. The expiring 3-year program is insured by AIG with limits of $50 million per incident and $50 million per policy aggregate at a total of $1.372659 million per incident, with a deductible of $350 for lead-based paint liabilities, $100,000 for mold, $25,000 for other incidents. The recommended program with Alazance will maintain the expiring limits over the 3-year period effective May 18th, 2018, expiring May 18th, 2021. The premium for the recommended program is $1.49 million, which is about 5.6% higher than the expiring premium, but within the 15% budgeted increase established by the Risk Management Department. Some of the factors in doing this particular item were the claims experience that was prior to largely Superstorm Sandy, withdrawal of one of the biggest insurers, which is AIG, had a substantial portion of the pollution liability market. Some of the coverage that we've recently had concerning LBP testing and some existing polluting conditions. The 3-year program is going to definitely cover lead-based paint liability and other pollutants such as mold, the ability to have cleanup for any fuel oil storage tanks, which we have about 349 underground, claims of transportation cargo in any spillage, and any claims as it relates to any third-party exposure associated with asbestos, lead, or Legionnaires. Based on these circumstances, finance is requesting that the board recommend to place EBLI policy with Allianz for 3 years, effective May 18th and expiring May 18th, 2021. Any questions?
So this is a policy that we have, and it is expiring.
Yes.
It's every 3 years.
Yes.
Okay, is the term.
Mhm.
Is that the established term? Is that our term or the insurer's term? Just trying to understand why the 3 years.
Well, the period I would bring to the stand, Arlene, the period is normally 3 years and we reinsure. Basically, you're also looking at risk because over time you have to look at the risk within that time. So you're actually looking at any claims you have. So it's always a best opportunity to look at it within a shorter period of time as opposed to longer. So if you have better claims experience, you can get better pricing. But in this case, because of one of the largest insurers, which is AIG, stepped out of the market, that is definitely changing how many insurers are in the market at the present time. So premiums are a little bit different.
Questions?
You're welcome. So item number 2 is to request to ratify an amended agreement with Greystone for the administration of the authority's parking permit for residents, employees, and the general public to increase the not to exceed of $960,000 in order to fund the continued provision of services during the extended 1-year period. The authority issued a RFP on January 22nd, 2018 for a new parking vendor. The authority at that time didn't receive any bids by the submission deadline. So in order to attract more competitive responses, the authority is revising the RFP to clarify the requirements, the scope of work, and not to exceed limiting the advertisement to the city record, but also working directly with other parking operator vendors. Greystone is presently in partnership with LAZ, the subcontractor, and will continue per the existing agreement, which include but not limited to administrative the issuance of parking permits for residents, employees, as well as the general public, customer service, answering phone calls, emails, or any in-person appointments, enforcing parking rules through the use of towing and potential other issues if you come to the cause of booting or maybe summonses, license plate recognition to realize that people who actually have the parking permits are parking within their assigned locations, any reassignment of parking spaces, and maintaining the parking website and including the online parking application process. This is one of the next-gen NYCHA initiatives, and it was something that was looked at. The priority is to residents first, and then employees, and lastly, as well as general public.
Yeah, can you just clarify the business model? So this amount is to pay them to manage, but and then so all the revenue that's generated comes directly to the authority. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the reason for this is that we did put out the RFP if we didn't get back what we expected. So we need to have some type of extension so we don't have a gap to ensure that we have someone supervising it. So the RFP is back out. This is just an extension on the prior one so that we can get better bids in so we can look at this process.
How did?
And what does the RFP envision?
Well, the RFP envision is ensuring the issuance of the parking for the residents, also lining out where actual people will be parking in a sign, making sure that people are actually in their respective places, because there's been issues that sometimes you get the parking, people are not there. So they're managing the whole process for us and keeping it where everybody is in their respective parking places, being able to give them online plates if people want to add parking to the process in terms of if they're new. We're also looking at opportunities for places where we don't have people assigned, with the opportunity that, I guess, the thing of, you're coming to the city if you want to park for maybe an hour or things of that sort. So looking at other opportunities to expand
To
the
generate
use of
more
our
revenue.
property. Absolutely.
And how can you just highlight, that may be one of them, but the ways in which the RFP envisions a different model from what exists currently? That's what I want to try and understand a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So the purpose is to get better management. So we already have it, and this was in place, but is looking for someone that could take it over for the authority and actually manage throughout. So one of the things is looking at summonses, looking at license plates recognition, so it could be more real time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Excuse me.
So this extension goes through March 31st, 2018. Is that?
No, it's going to start so that we don't have any break in service to the residents as well as the employees until we get a better bidder relative to the service that we're having now. We don't want to break in the service.
And the extension goes through when?
For 1 year until we hopefully get someone that answers in so that we could have us transition seamlessly.
Why do you think we didn't get any responses to the first RFP?
That is a very good question. At this point, I will ask my director, Adam Chukri.
Good morning.
It seems like the advertisement of the
Speak to them
Sorry.
and introduce yourself.
Good morning, Adam Shukri from Finance. It seems that the advertisement for the RFP was just done in the city records, and parking operators usually maybe they don't go to city records to kind of find out new kind of those contracts in the city record. So we're trying to work with procurement to kind of do direct mailing to all the big parking vendors within the city, the Icon, the LAS, the SMPs, and what have you. In addition to that, what we also had asked within the RFP is really what we kind of, in finance, we call it a la carte kind of thing. So kind of help out with the development staff in terms of the maintenance of the parking lot, meaning some of the cleaning stuff, maybe small fixing, potholes repairs, and some of the stuff that we have to go through a whole process to get those done. So what we had asked within the RFP is to have this fixed price kind of things to kind of let us know if NYCHA would elect to go and do some of this stuff within the parking lots, how much will it cost? Mm-hmm. That didn't come out that good within the RFP.
So that wasn't in the previous RFP, or it's in the new one?
It's in the new one.
It's in the new one.
Correct.
So capital upgrades of existing spots.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Is what we're asking people to respond with a price.
Correct. Okay. The aesthetic of the parking lots, right. Maybe shrubs, maybe lines, fencing lines, the fences, gates, exactly.
Okay.
And part of the bigger problem that we have within NYCHA is really, quite frankly, as you all know, is our parking lot that kind of open. We don't have gates. We don't have any security. So as soon as maybe towing company, they leave, I mean, people turn around and go back in, and it's been.
And so I hear us saying, we didn't advertise as widely as we could have. So the advertisement of the upcoming RFP, is it already released?
It is released.
It is.
Correct.
So what have we done differently? I'm sorry, I just didn't hear that.
We did direct mailing to all the big parking vendors.
Are we going to have a bidders conference?
We're going to have a bidders conference that we didn't have in the previous RFP, where we didn't get any responses. And we kind of also extended a little bit the response time to give vendors enough time to kind of review it, understand the requirements, ask the questions, get the question back to NYCHA, answering them, and have a proposal conference.
When is that due?
If I believe correctly, the proposal conference is in the middle of May. The closing of the RFP somewhere at the end of June.
And then I get one final question that ties in with the development plans and generating revenue. I guess how clear are we on, I guess, the portfolio of parking or what sites may be future development sites or are in the pipeline to be future development sites that may affect, I guess, this vision? I don't know if that's a question for you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, so we work closely with the Department of Real Estate and CPD in terms of a lot of the constructions that is happening related to Sandy and also in the permanent construction within the parking lots. So there is a lot of coordination that's happening today between those departments and last parking because we have a lot of relocation, moving people, getting people around to kind of do the staging areas, construction, or what have you. In terms of overall revenues, it's kind of we monitor we monitor the kind of what's in the short-term future plans for constructions, and we kind of adjust our revenue estimates based on those construction, what's going to happen within those lots.
Thank you. I think the overall point, though, is we have approximately, I think, 30,000 spaces throughout our portfolio, of which half are actually utilized. So we are, but not surprisingly, the ones that are greatly utilized are in, close to downtown, Manhattan, et cetera. So there's a lot of work and coordination that will need to be done to make sure that folks aren't displaced, or if they are relocated, that will happen. And that's the overall pipeline question I think we can talk more about in our real estate conversations. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Deborah Goddard to present the capital items. I'm going to start with items 3 and 4. These both present authorization to enter into lease agreements for solar photovoltaic systems on our roofs or in our parking lots. And in the parking lots, they would be built on canopies that would be installed so they do not remove parking spaces. We are hoping over the next 7 years to do solar in a way that we would provide about 25 megawatts of solar capacity. And for lay people like me, let's just put it in perspective. HUD hopes to get to 300 nationwide on federally assisted buildings, and the city is hoping to get to 100 overall. So we're a big chunk of this. These two proposals will provide 5 megawatts in total. We have surveyed our roofs and our parking lots to identify sites that would be appropriate. We've identified 190 developments where we could do this. We will be batching these opportunities over the next 7 years into RFPs. These two represent solar on 121 buildings and 26 parking lots across 14 developments. They were put into 3 bundles, and the proposers could bid on any one or more of the 3. The term for these leases would be 20 years with up to 5 one-year renewal periods, and we are proposing to award to each of the 2 proposers. Bright Power Inc. Is experienced in this arena, particularly working with low and moderate income communities. Tangent Energy Solutions is not so as experienced with low mod communities, but they are experienced with government and institutional, and they've worked with, for instance, DCAS. The VNCs are outstanding, and we will enter into a lease when the vetting by Inspector General's office is complete. For Section 3, well, it's not technically Section 3, but it is resident hiring. Bright is proposing 12 hires during the duration of the construction work, and Tangent 16. Bright has the smaller package, Package 1, 27 sites. They are proposing about $66,000 a year in lease payments. This funding will go to operations to be used at the host sites. 20% of the power generated would be supplied to low mod income households at a 10 to 20% discount rate against Con Ed. At Tangent, larger packages, packages 2 and 3, they have around 76 sites in total. They're proposing $112,000 a year lease payments. 60% of the power generated to go to low moderate income residents. We think that might be a little aggressive. Residents have to choose to sign up to these providers, but we'll see how that works out with a 20% discount rate against the Con Ed normal rate. Questions?
I have a couple questions. So I noticed that one of the places that these will be installed are parking lots.
Yes.
So just to ensure that we're coordinated with everything else.
Right.
And then it seems like because this is a long-term investment, then we're also designating those parking lots as areas where there will not be development in the near future.
Correct.
Right.
So first of all, we will be building canopies over the
Mhm.
spaces, so the spaces will not be lost. And yes, we've coordinated with real estate development on all of this.
Right. And then, and the power is going to serve the developments, or does it also serve?
No, it will say, to the extent we have residents that pay their utilities, they can sign up for this, and then otherwise other people in the low and moderate income communities surrounding.
Right. Okay. And then the final question has to do with the financial terms. So this, I don't know a lot about solar in particular, but about lease terms, it's a flat rate over an extended period of time with
Yes.
seemingly so it seems to be that there's no escalation. There's, is there, or percentage of revenue? How, I was struck that it's a flat rate over a long term. And I'm just curious about those terms and how they compare to market.
Bomi, do you have an answer on that? Our VP for Sustainability and Energy. Bomi Young.
Hi, good morning. So you're right, there is no escalation in these first two leases. We, first of all, this is our first time out, so we were not super familiar with the market. We made the lease terms based on advice that we received from our technical assistance providers, both CUNY, which has provided support to the rollout of solar programs throughout the city, and by DCAS, for example, as well as a technical consultant who was provided by HUD. And so this was our best first attempt. I think that going forward, certainly in the future RFPs, we may consider tweaking those terms to include things like escalation. The market for solar leases in general, as you may notice by the overall revenue over 20 years, is not. It's not real estate. It's an emerging market, and the revenues are relatively modest. So we're learning as we go, and we will certainly endeavor to get the best terms that we can as we roll out future RFPs.
Okay, thank you.
Excited. Want me to stay?
Oh, no, good question.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So do residents get priority, any type of sort of priority in
most of our
signing up
residents
for the program?
Most of our residents don't pay their own utilities. So in this very small instances where they do, they will have the option to sign up for these two providers.
Okay.
And we'll do outreach to them.
Okay. And priority.
Yeah, to let them know their options. Yes. So I'm going to move to item number 5, which is a change order in connection with the Sandy restoration work at Red Hook East and West. This is a change order for the contract with Technico Construction Services, valued at about $9.8 million. When Technico went in to start doing some of the roof work, they discovered that the drawings by the architect and engineer of record, KPF, were inaccurate, and that they presumed there was a certain beam across the whole perimeter. It wasn't there. It means we have to do a lot more extra work to shore up the strength of the walls and the roof. In fact, our as-builts showed this condition accurately, so we will also be pursuing options that we may have against the AE firm for this error. In any event, the work would have had to be done and paid for. And so we do know that the spandrel beam issue exists across the site. What we're not sure of is whether when we went into the first building, we found material behind that wasn't solid and wasn't secure. Whether we'll find that condition across the site, we're not sure of. So we have a change order now, as I said, in the amount of $9.8 million, but we won't be able to come to a firm decision until we get a firm number until we get across all of our buildings. This will be paid out of our FEMA/insurance/CDBGR meeting money.
I have a question. Is the absence of the beam a result of Sandy, or wasn't it? It was not there.
It was not there, and our as-built drawing showed that correctly. So this
original
was
construction.
Correct, which is unusual, frankly, but it showed correctly.
How old are the? Is it Queensbridge or Red Hook?
Red Hook.
How old are they? Red Hook.
I don't
think it's
know.
our third or fourth. No, fourth. It's early.
It's not a usual condition, but it was shown accurately.
And this approximately 10 million is just for the replacement of the beam?
Yeah, across every building, our largest site, of course. And the material behind, if we find this unstable material when we take down our parapets. Yeah, they came in with a larger proposal, and they came in at about $1 million more, and we negotiated to this price.
Okay. And can you remind us where we are in the overall? I know there's a lot of work going on at Red Hook. It's a part of a much bigger project.
Red Hook is our longest duration. It's probably going to be completed and fully completed in 2022. It's one of our last to be fully completed.
Got it. And the only other thing I would say is, if given this omission or error,
right.
Are we doing an audit or review to make sure that there are no other errors in the architect's plans? And
it would. I'm not sure we've checked all the as-builts. That's a good point. We will take a look at that.
Just and from a construction perspective, like just practically speaking, do people have to be relocated to do this? This sounds more than like a roof replacement where you know.
No, I don't think this in and of itself requires that, because we would have been addressing this condition in any event, one way or the other, and it's the external beam in the perimeter.
It's external.
It's external.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next items are number 6 through 9. They are all related to the same matter. This is the extension of the contracts for our temporary gas boilers at our Sandy sites to run through the remainder of the construction term. So I'm just going to run down they will extend the term and the price for the temporary boilers, as well as account for repair and replacement of parts that are not part of the temporary boiler, but are in our buildings, and they impact the operation of the temporary boilers, like condensate returns and so on and so forth. So item number 6 relates to Red Hook East and West. It's with Cordon Construction Corporation. We are recommending an increase of almost $12.5 million. As I just mentioned, we expect this contract likely to run through 2022. Item number 7 is Coney Island, Site 1B. Again, Cordon Construction Company, change order valued at about $180,000. Item number 8 are our developments in Brooklyn, Surfside, O'Dwyer Gardens, Gravesend, Coney Island Sites 4 and 5, Coney Island 1, Site 8, Coney Island, and Cary Gardens, also Cordon. And the change order is in the amount of about $10.1 million. Item number 9 is various developments in Queens, Carlton Manor, Hamel, Ocean Bay Bayside, and Redfern houses with Merrick Mechanical, change order in the amount of about $3.7 million. Questions? Yes.
So do we estimate the time it's going to take to replace? And was this expected that it was going to take another extension?
I think there clearly have been delays on a number of our sites, as you've seen as I've been coming up. So some of these are going longer than expected. And until we got to a certain point in design and ready to bid, we really didn't have a strong knowledge. Now we feel like we really know what our program, when the end date is. And these are various. So even though some of them are running a while in these packages, for instance, Coney Island 1B could be done in December of this year, but others in that package will go longer. But we feel this really, we're able to nail down our schedules at this point.
So what factors inform the delays?
There's been a number. Across the board, we had to change a lot of the designs that were started after the final FEMA agreement was signed, and we knew that we were going to take sea level rise into account, not just the flood measure. Frankly, we've had some sites where we've had trouble with our designers. We've terminated one. We're struggling through with a few others. Others, you'll see one today where we're rejecting a bid. So some other negotiations came into play.
Just an interesting fact, Red Hook East was completed in 1939 and Red Hook West also in 1939. So just fascinating.
First generation.
1939, folks. Okay.
Any questions on the boilers?
No, but just to, so in all cases, they are going to be permanently replaced.
Yes.
We just are not there yet, so that's why we need to extend.
Yeah, and the mechanical work is really probably the longest factor on the critical path. It's one of the last things that totally gets tied in. We're building new buildings. We're taking these out of the basement. We're building new buildings. That means we've got to rewrote everything on all the tie-ins. So it's.
And so when construction is complete
Mhm.
and you disconnect the temporary boilers, do those get relocated to, like, what's the sort of breakdown?
They're rented.
They're rented.
They're
Okay,
done
so they
and
just
gone.
get.
Yeah.
So I know that it's existing work that's going on. This is why we're getting the monies finally that FEMA and all these other organizations finally coughed up. I mean, finally gave us. Didn't want to put it in a negative aspect. But so with this continuing work and moving boilers around, you know, I often ask this question. With more work, shouldn't there be Section 3 workers?
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there's an issue with how that's done,
yeah.
but I don't know how that's being monitored to know whether or not Section 3 people should be put on when something continues of this magnitude.
Well, let's break down a couple things. So, for instance, the temporary boilers, we're just extending the lease, right? So there's probably not a lot more work, and it's going to be the same people they've had because it's new hires, right? When we do some of the change orders where you're just going to fix something, again, they've got a crew, they're going to go back in and fix something. This large one on Technico, again, they've got their crew, they've done their hiring. That crew is going to work longer and harder, but they're not necessarily going to expand the crew that's working on the roofs. So it could be a variety of things. And then there could be change orders or amendments to contracts where, yes, they do increase the overall hiring, and the Section 3 should be revisited.
Okay.
Item number 10 is a recommendation to rescind the award and reject all bids in connection with the Isaacs House restoration, the Sandy Recovery Program. This board voted to award a contract for building number 2 to AWL. You've heard over and over again, and we have not yet, let me just mention, we've also not yet issued the letter of award for that contract. You've heard us talk over and over again about how FEMA limited its resources to certain buildings that were Sandy damaged. We've always been negotiating for money from another program, their hazard mitigation program, which would allow us to do flood mitigation, sustainability efforts around the broader site, even if buildings weren't damaged. Between deciding to move forward with building number 2 and getting that contract out on the street, we have now been awarded $49 million overall under this other program, and that some of that funding has been awarded to take care of the other 2 buildings at Isaacs. So we think it makes sense at this point in time, where the construction hadn't started under the first contract, to repackage all 3 buildings as one. Clearly, we could not just do a change order for AWL. 2 buildings on top of, 2 in addition to 1 would have been outside the competitive norm. We think we will have efficiencies in terms of being on the site, how the work is, how the work proceeds with one contractor. And so we are recommending, again, rescind the contract awarded to AWL, reject remaining bids. We will repackage and go out for the entire site.
How does this affect, just the overall schedule for what we expected to happen at?
It probably is going to push it off by a few months, except that the site overall, we had now that we have the build numbers, the other 2 buildings, it would have extended the schedule at the site. So building number 2 will take longer by several months, but the other 2 buildings would have extended the disruption at the site in any event. Because we were on schedule for those 2 because we just got the money.
Because they weren't included in the
They weren't
original
included.
FEMA scope, and now they are.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah, included for mitigation. Any questions? Thank
And
you.
so
Yeah.
Isaac's just again, in terms of coordination, Isaac's is also,
Mhm.
because it's such a tight site,
Yes.
you know, right? The
Yes.
homes
Yes.
tower is happening, so we just need to make
Yes.
sure that coordination
Yep.
is,
Yes.
that
Yep.
construction is coordinated.
Yes. Very coordinated.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good morning. My name is Hyacinth Jeffers. I'm the Assistant Director for the Department of Internal Audit and Assessment, and I will be presenting item number 11, which is requesting authorization to approve the issuance of the authority's fiscal year 2018 internal audit plan. The Department of Internal Audit and Assessment conducts audits and independent assessments of the efficiency and effectiveness of the authority's operations, the adequacy of internal controls, the accuracy of financial data, and compliance with applicable laws, regulations, and procedures. These work objectives are accomplished by conducting operational, financial, compliance, and information technology audits selected as a result of a formal risk assessment process. These audits are conducted in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States of America, international standards for professional practice of internal auditing promulgated by the Institute of Internal Auditors, and including their other auditing standards set forth by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the internal control frameworks known as the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations of the Treasury Commission and the Control Objectives for Information and Related Technologies. During January and February 2018, the authority's Department of Internal Audit and Assessment performed an enterprise risk assessment process to identify the potential adverse events that may have an impact on the authority's ability to achieve its strategic and financial goals. This engagement led to assisting executive management in understanding key business risks presently impacting the organization, as well as defining management's oversight and accountability of the risk portfolio and ensuring controls are mitigating risk as intended. The feedback from the exercise led to developing the 2018 NYCHA Internal Audit Plan, which will review critical systems and management controls, as well as perform more effective and efficient audits and assessments to provide executive management with recommendations that improve key internal controls of the authority and add value to the authority's business operations. On March 15, 2018, the Acting Director of Internal Audit and Assessment presented the draft of the 2018 NYCHA Internal Audit Plan to the authority's Audit Committee, including fiscal year 2017 year-in review highlights and explanations for the enterprise-wide risk assessment conducted, the authority's risk culture and appetite, as well as the internal audit planning process. Based on the presentation, the authority's audit committee recommended board approval for the issuance of the 2018 NYCHA Internal Audit Plan in compliance with the Audit Committee Charter adopted pursuant to Board Resolution 03-6/18-18 with subsequent amendments, of which the most recent is by Board Resolution 13-9/25-6. Are there any questions? Thank you.
I had a couple.
hold on,
Yeah.
hold
So back to just some of that basics. How frequently is this audit done?
The risk assessment is done annually.
It's done annually, and this is per HUD,
per accounting regulations.
per accounting regulation. Okay, got it. And who defines the objectives? Is that
In terms of
the actual audit, the study. So there were a number of things that were being assessed. Who chooses those, defines them, et cetera? What needs to be looked at?
Well, we have the risk assessment plan, which we have a list of questions which we ask the executive departments, and based on their responses, we come up with our audits.
But who even determines the questions to ask?
That's done in the audit department.
The audit department.
Yes.
Got it. And is any of this done with outside help?
Deloitte, who is our current auditor, they review our information.
Okay, so they assist with the process, or just they review the end product?
They review the end product.
Okay, got it. And the audit committee, and then is it and the audit committee is made up of internal? No,
it's made up of Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Cephas, and 2 other outside.
I see. Okay, got it.
External.
And are they the ones scoring all the criteria?
No, that's done internally by the audit
internally.
department.
Okay, got it. I'd love to see an executive summary of the audit. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We certainly question them on certain procedures that they may take, and we try to change it to make sure that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Erenice Tavares. I'm acting Senior Vice President for Operations Support Services. Today I will be presenting item number 12. I'm seeking authorization to award a contract to the sole responsive and responsible bidder, Clatter Controls Corporation, to provide Magnatech Inc. elevator parts to various developments citywide in the Long Island City warehouse. This is a 3-year requirement contract with no renewal options. This contract is for the purchase of Magnatech elevator inverters, specifically, in accordance with the authority standard specifications. The benefit of this requirement contract is that it eliminates the need to procure small purchase orders of parts that are generally higher in cost when purchased on standard purchase orders. These parts are used frequently by elevator mechanics and have a useful life of 3 years. The total cost of this contract is $323,796. A VNC has been requested on April 4th, and the contract will not be awarded until the VNC has been cleared. Any questions?
Just the only question is that I noticed there was only one bidder on this. Do you have a sense of why that would be the case?
The RFQ was sent out to 7 different vendors, and only this vendor responded.
Yeah. Are they specialized parts, or is this?
Yes, and there's Magnatech. They're Magnatech parts, and Clatter is one of their vendors. But Magnatech did not respond to our RFQ, unfortunately.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, 12 items were presented for board approval. Do I have a motion to approve the items?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye. I move that the members be authorized to meet in executive session today to discuss the civil investigative demand.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
They can get you.
Second?
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.